I'm Alexander Cooper. I'm a senior supply chain management at Shippensburg University.
I'm Eric Boyd. I'm also I'm a first semester senior, so I'll graduate in December at Shippensburg, supply chain as well.
I'm Dalton Seibert. I'm a senior as well. I'm a supply chain and finance major, and I'll graduate in May.
And then we're just going to take you through our presentation on 7APR2017 Foods and what we got out of the case. So this is just a quick outline of what we're going to discuss. We're going to start with the case summary, very quick case summary, quick introduction, go into some case questions and solutions, calculations, conclusions, and then we're going to have our Q&A session. So a very quick summary of 7APR2017 Foods. They're a major consumer packaging goods manufacturer. They moved their supplier of water bottles, they want to move internationally into China for an 18% cost savings per unit. Their competitive strategy is identification of cost savings related to procurement inputs, and it's a top priority for their senior leadership. It's savings. They're located in the Baltimore metropolitan area, and the way that we're approaching the case is savings is a very crucial factor, so we're trying to emphasize as much savings as possible. And then we're going to go into the case questions and solutions.
So question one, it asks us to identify and discuss the most significant factors that come in the associated costs that come with sourcing bottles from China. So the four main factors that we identified are quality issues, the extended lead time that comes with shipping on the ocean transit, also the big time difference between here and Shanghai, and then also the international law and customs that come with sourcing from China. So with the quality, in the case it talks about the packaging development team was there for the first run, and they okayed the first run, but ideally we'd like to have somebody there all the time checking the quality. They also had a third-party inspector there for the first run. He okayed the first run, but they were no longer there after that. So there could be quality issues that come along with that. So to counteract that, we may have to look for an on-site consultant to be there at all times. So that would increase cost as well. Having that 4-week ocean transit and the changing of hands that come with that can create quality issues as well, maybe damaging the bottles or the cargo containers that they're in. So that's another unknown variable. Also, with sourcing from China, in the case it talks about the 12-week lead time. So from order placement to delivery, the initial order will take 12 weeks, and then routine orders after that will take 8 weeks. So if there was any kind of issue that we would have whenever the orders came over, say we didn't have enough, or there was quality issues as well, trying to get a new shipment over here would take a long time. So we may have to have safety stock on hand to hedge against that extended lead time. Also, Shanghai is 12 hours ahead of time from here. So, like I said, if there were orders coming over that weren't correct, quality issues, trying to get that communication over to them, it may take another day till we even hear back from them. So we kind of need to have real-time communication all the times, and to counteract that, we're talking about having overlapping shifts. So those shifts would include management and also the production personnel, so there can be communication from both ends. Also, a main concern was international customs and laws sourcing from China. China has pretty strict regulations on the internal coordination for the company, so we would have to have integration between our legal department, finance department, transportation department, between the laws and customs. So that may create an issue with cost for us, having to devote legal teams and other teams internally to fulfill the regulations by China.
So question 2 is identify and discuss how the cultural differences contribute to the cost of managing an international supplier. So the main cost that we identified was language and communication, and negotiations and expectations. So language barriers can play a pretty critical role when dealing with your supplier, obviously. So a language barrier really could cause problems between the manufacturer and supplier. So I think a suggestion would be to hire a more specialized workforce, maybe someone with international expertise that may speak the second language. wherever the supplier is located. It may reduce costs in the long term, but initially you may have to hire those specialized workers, which will cost you a premium. But if you do that, there may be quicker problem resolution due to smoother communication. And I think this could also lead to an improved morale of your workforce. If you're coming into work every day and you understand who you're dealing with and you're on the same page and problems can be communicated effectively and smoothly and information is not being left out, it really can make you really want to come into work and improve the morale of the workplace. The next thing is negotiation and expectations. So the way that business is done in the United States and in China is a lot different. Chinese value face-to-face interaction more so than in the United States. A consensus is reached through a group and every level of so from the janitorial staff up, they have a seat at the table usually when they're agreeing and reaching consensus. They really appreciate the time that it takes to develop a business relationship. It's more important to develop a strong relationship in Chinese culture during the first few visits as opposed to just getting right down to business. The expectation could be you may be going on a visit 3 or 4 times before you actually talk business, just to really gain trust with whoever you're dealing with. With dealing with foreign companies, you should send an executive, someone that's in a high-ranking position. It could be considered insulting to do otherwise in Chinese culture. Negotiations, like I said earlier, they tend to last longer because you do have to make more trips. It's not like, hey, we have a problem, this needs to get fixed now. That would be viewed as insulting and untrustworthy. In the United States, if we were to go with the international supplier, we're definitely going to have to adapt our expectations and strategies when approaching business.
All right, so the third question is about provide specific recommendations for how Sono Imperial can improve performance of the supplier relationship. So we broke that down into 3 different things that they could do. They could hire employees with international expertise, they could have overlapping shifts, or they can reach a supplier agreement. So hiring employees with international expertise, you would have employees that would have the same cultural background or that are able to communicate in Chinese. So this is going to make the process a lot smoother when communicating with overseas suppliers. So you have to bridge that communication gap sometimes. If you ask a Chinese supplier what they want in English, they might not get exactly what you want. So if you have somebody that can speak their native language, it would allow them to be able to better communicate. And then overlapping shifts, we would just have an employee for our company work a shift where is normal business hours for the Chinese supplier, and then the Chinese supplier would work a shift that's normal business hours for us. That allows us to always have 24 connectivity. If there's a quality issue on the line, we're able to reach out to them. If they have any questions, we're always there to answer them. And then develop a supplier agreement. So what we could do is maybe we won't give them all our business at once. So if we don't do that, then we could have year-over-year cost reductions. And how it would work, we would get year-over-year cost reductions as we would give them, say, more business. And if that allows both businesses to prosper and have lower costs. All right, so we have some other factors to consider that weren't discussed in the discussion questions. We would have a domestic supplier and then the different political environments. So with a domestic supplier, we would just have them basically handle our peak demand periods, like say in the summer. And the following expectations we would have is we would expect them to have high quality, on-time delivery, and being able to meet demand quickly. This is really important for us to have so that whenever we get a lot of demand in the summer, we're able to meet that. If there's a quality issue or anything like that, and we have like 100 bottles that we need, we should be able to reach out to them, and we would expect them to meet that demand. And then the different political environments. So like every political country changes their leader or however they run every so often. So with a different leader or a different economic or political environment, it can lead to changes. So if there's ever a change, we have to adjust to that change. Everybody that comes in wants something different usually, so we have to accustom ourselves to that. All right, so then we're going to talk a little bit about calculations that we came up with. All right, so here's our suggestion. We're projecting to do 800,000 bottles at 42 cents a bottle, so that would be 800,000 bottles for the international supplier. And then we would have 400,000 bottles at the 51 cents, which is what we were currently paying. That's just for the peak demand periods. This will be like on a trial basis because there's still a lot of variables that are unknown. And so then we came up with a cost savings of approximately 11.5% instead of the 18% cost reduction for the case suggestion. The reason being, we want to make sure that we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket in a sense. We don't want to give them all our business at once because there's just so many variables that we're still unaware of. We want to make sure that the relationship is there and the quality is there before we give them all our business.
And then also with that 11.5%, we can increase that cost savings every year. That's just the first initial year. We don't want to source fully internationally. We want to be able to have that domestic supplier in case anything would come up, like Dalton said. So that's just our initial cost savings in the first year.
All right, then we have a conclusion.
So we feel the best solution, as we said, is to give 2/3 of our business to the international supplier because the way that the leadership, their focus really is on cost savings. But the way that will look in a 12-month period, we've already ordered 400,000 bottles, and that's the first third of the year. We will go domestic for the peak season in the summer, and then the last third of the year, we will go international again. The nice thing is, if there is a lot of quality issues that do arise, we have the whole summer to go domestic and really work with our international supplier and hash out any quality issues, any transportation issues, and just make sure that the next run is much more effective. Okay, Q&A session.
You outlined savings on the first slide.